Hey, welcome to Bowls and Beers. I have an intruder popping into Studio B.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just starting, honey.
Oh.
Oh, bye.
No, no, please don't make me go. No.
Come on,
I
Trudy.
don't feel so good. Let's just stop.
That is the brood of human beings that I have had a hand in producing. God help the world. So we're down to Robbie has some things he's taking care of, and Kevin is having technical issues. So the three of us are going to try to sit here and talk over finally a football game, more than imminent. By this time tomorrow night, it'll be over. I'll be in a plane, and Matt and Zach and the guys will be writing some quick post games because I've now just committed to them to it live. So, football news outside of the game. Someone posted a tweet recently. I'll have to go and read it. That O'Hagan is looking like he might make the 53-man roster. And Zach and I looked at the polls in the NFL, and it didn't look too hot for too many of them. If your name wasn't Khalil Mack. And Zach, have you heard anything on this since those articles came out?
I also just saw the James O'Hagan article. It was saying that they'd be surprised. Well, I guess they thought he had an outside shot at the 53-man, but they thought he was looking pretty good for making the practice squad at least, which seems to be the hope for a lot of the UB guys. You said not named Khalil Mack, but if some of them can catch on a practice squad, we'll take that.
All right, so other football news, just to go over before we get into the game specifically. We all saw that Myers got the job. Kind of neat to see a freshman quarterback. Kind of scary to see a freshman quarterback. But given what we saw in the spring game, I think this is a good move. Matt, I'm assuming you agree. You're kind of excited to see this, or as time wears on, do you feel better about this than you did the first night, or not?
I do feel better. I don't know how I'm excited because I don't know anything. We put the post up and I was like, oh, he won the Conley Cup. I was like, oh, Timon had a winning record. That is not what I remember about, high school sports. I am frankly in general biased against recruits, especially in football, from New York State, West New York specifically. I know it worked out with Licata. I know it worked out with Naaman. No, worked out with Starks, yeah, but I don't mind seeing redshirt freshmen win the job. I think that speaks to recruiting, which I think Leipold has always done. For the few things that excite me about Leipold's teams, I'm always excited come recruiting time to see kind of the guys and their highlight reels and stuff. I've always been excited about the recruiting classes. And so to see redshirt freshmen win the job speaks to, hey, like, okay, it would be great if we were stepping in and having a series of 2-year starters for their junior and senior years. But we've seen Van Treese a bit. Fine. If someone's beating out Van Treese,
seems to be an okay manager. Like Van Treese seems to be a guy who's not going to throw a game away.
Yeah, and if someone's beating that out, then I'm more excited than I was just off the beginning of, oh boy, like we waited this long and now we're naming the freshman. That was kind of my reaction early on. I need to figure out how to get my whole face in the damn screen. There we go. I'm more excited as time goes on, and I hope that there are no changes tomorrow. I hope we don't see a lot of throwing. I hope that just in general, there's no mistakes.
I think we all kind of agree that even no matter who started, that this was going to be a run-based offense, just based on the losses on receiver alone and what we returned running.
Yeah.
And the line.
Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone did a piece last year on that UB was actually a much more consistent running team than people gave them credit for last year.
Yeah. I was looking into this for, I don't know if we were just talking about it or one of the articles that I wrote, but like we were surprisingly run heavy. Like given that we had Tyree last year, I think a lot of it was a function of the fact that we were up in games and we had the ability to run, but we were more run heavy than we really have been any time of late, if I recall correctly. And I mean, when we have the line that we have and the running backs that we have, it makes sense. Plus, a mobile quarterback like Tyree doesn't hurt. But I think. I mean, obviously, we're not going to have like the vertical aspect of the offense, but I don't know. I think that we'll be able to move the ball more consistently than maybe last year, even because of the fact that we'll go more run heavy. And I don't think we're going to be taking like crazy shots down the field like we did with Tyree that a lot of times just fell incomplete out of bounds or something.
Yeah, something that I don't spend the energy to track myself, but always like reading when it comes up, is people talking about staying ahead of the down and distance. And Tyree it was so tempting, not just the deep bombs, but also to try and hit like 10 to 20 yard routes, and kind of get that quick thing. But if you miss it, say you got 4 yards on, 2nd and 6 isn't bad. But then if you take that opportunity to go and look for like a 10-yard play across the middle somewhere, now you're in 3rd and 6, and that's not necessarily a running down. And like, this is not a thing that I track, but it's something that I like to see is staying ahead of and keeping everything down and distance manageable. And, with the talent, the experience we've got on the line and kind of the combo of backs that we have, I'm really excited to kind of see that this year. I don't think that's something we'll be able to get meaningful data from tomorrow. I think tomorrow's just going to be just get back to football.
I think tomorrow's definitely going to be a shake. Hopefully, just a shaking off the rust type of thing, and not a Stony Brook or Albany situation.
Yeah.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Dominic is moved over to wide receiver. I think that's a great move.
I'm interested to see how that pans out.
Obviously athletic. He's obviously someone who likes to play, and he's playing 2 sports. That's how much he likes to play. And I think it adds another wrinkle to the offense that maybe we didn't have with some of the losses we've had at receiver. Kind of like a slash situation because the guy can throw.
Oh, you're thinking that way.
Well, I mean, I think he can be a good, solid receiver too. But I just think Leipold's not beyond playing little tricky stuff.
That's true. I feel like anything we get out of Dominic Johnson in either sport is just a pleasant. Oh, wow. UBBulls.com already has like game day, huge 9/11 font banner going on, and it is not game day.
Yeah, I saw that when I went to it earlier today.
Well, it is if you're in England.
It is if you're midway across the Atlantic on a plane.
Capturing another market.
I just am trying to check Johnson's height. I should have done on the basketball roster.
6'4", 6 foot.
Yeah, I was thinking 6'3" or 4.
Yeah, he was
6'5".
Yeah, 6'5".
Yeah, so
6'5", yeah.
That's certainly, with none down, which I'm sure we'll talk about, with the name that I didn't recognize, but is another wide receiver out apparently for the year.
That's the Giovanni Ruiz. It's Giovanni Ruiz. I don't think he plays, but you'll probably remember him from being the ham ropes guy that was doing the reverse sit-up basically.
So I didn't recognize the name. He's never played before, but in the camp preview, he was the 4th wide receiver listed, which might have just been a seniority thing. Anything we get out of Johnson is icing on the cake for me. Given his height, given his athleticism, I'd hate to see him take a big knock and kind of catch an injury. Not that it would really derail the basketball team or anything, but whatever happens from him will be a pleasant surprise for me, I think.
And Matt touched on the fact that none is hurt. Now, I saw he was doubtful. I don't know if that's been updated or not, but
I just watched the press conference, and that's what Leipold said. I don't see any sense in risking it with him against a bottom-tier FCS team.
Well, get your giant grain of salt out. It was he was still listed on the 2 deep. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, I would be surprised if he sees much, if any, action. He might get out there for a series if he's healthy just to – get the rust out and run a few patterns against another team. But
yeah, I might run him out without even. I said I might run him out without even targeting him against Penn State. But someone in the comments said, bring him back for Liberty. Make sure he's good. Then that's when the games were. Or Temple before Liberty, I guess. But I don't even know Temple Liberty. whatever. Those two is kind of the ones that we need to start thinking about.
Yeah, definitely Liberty. I think Liberty's next week, but yeah, that's kind of a must-win game if we want to look at 7 wins, which is the automatic bowl qualifying mark. And this team could do that, or this team could finish 2-10. I honestly have no idea.
I think we'll do better than 2-10.
Last
I
time
hope
said
so.
that was 2010.
My official prediction is 5-7. I think 4-8 is more likely than 6-6, but I don't think we drop below. I think there's absolutely three wins on the schedule.
I'm a Buffalo sports fan.
I mean the last time
emotionally prepared for the worst.
The last 2 times we've done this, we went 2-10. So I should know better, but.
But 47-point favorites. So if you want to watch a game where UB should be able to win pretty comfortably, this would be the week to definitely tune in to ESPN Plus to watch the game. There is a link on Bull Run, which if you use that to sign up for ESPN Plus, it puts a few coins in our virtual tip jar. And I do mean few coins, but every little bit is nice. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to move on to this week's opponent, which is Robert Morris, who I honestly knew nothing about at all until about 4 weeks ago. And it seems like every day I learn something else about Robert Morris that makes me more and more confident about this game. I'm always worried. Ever since the Stony Brook and Albany fiascos, I'm always dodging.
And Duquesne. I mean,
Duquesne put a scare into us.
Duquesne put a scare, and then we had that huge storm and lightning delay, and everyone left, and the game was still in doubt. And I was like, "Oh no!" And that was after Stony Brook, but before Albany, and it was.
That's right. I forgot that was the same. Yeah.
The sign of things to come.
You take a look at Robert Morris. What do you think?
They are dreadful. They have their tight end is really good. I think I read that he was second team All FCS or All American for FCS. Yeah. He's really good. Otherwise,
they have a quarterback, right?
Yeah, they're losing their quarterback from a team that won 2 games by a combined 7 points at home against Division II teams, which kind of says enough. Their running back's a down transfer from Bowling Green, and he was pretty solid for them last year. But the real issue was their defense. They were giving up 40-something points per game against FCS and D2 competition, and they lost their leading tackler by far and their only all-conference defensive lineman. So I think we're going to hang up a pretty good amount of points against them tomorrow.
Yeah, I had read Zach's basic opponent rundown. I was like, all right, this is not Duquesne at the top of the Northeastern Conference. This is a bad FCS team. And then I went and did some research myself. And last year they were 2-9 and 0-6 in conference. And the year prior they were 2-9 and 0-6 in conference. And the year prior they were 2-9 and 0-6 in conference. And
2010, I think, was their last winning season.
Yes, yeah.
In the NEC.
They are hot garbage. And all their kind of, we've got to make ourselves look good buzz talks about, the new coach. He was a new coach last year, there is a possibility of a little more accelerated turnaround here. They were all excited that last year they doubled the previous year's offensive output, which, that tight end had 12 touchdowns. That's something. And their top 2 running backs combined for, 1,300 yards, not nothing. And they do return a lot of those skill players. They're going to figure out a new quarterback, but they return all their receivers and rushers otherwise. But that defense is terrible. And, their own little publicity blurbs say, hey, he turned around the offense last year and now he's going to focus his attention on the defense. And that just feels like a sports information guy writing what he's going to write. They were picked 7th in the NEC. I don't know if it was coaches or media poll. 8th is Long Island. No clue what that school is. Who's in their first year of
they're
football or first year football coming up from Division II.
There was Long Island Brooklyn, which was D1, but I don't think they had football. But then they combined with Long Island Post or something like that. They were I think they're bringing up their D3 football team. They're combining all their athletics. They basically have a D3 team, but they're combining and becoming like one D1 athletics department. So it's probably basically a D3 team that's below them.
Long Island Brooklyn is the site of a very painful women's basketball game a few years ago, in which I honest to God think there were 47 combined turnovers in 40 minutes of basketball. So thanks for reminding me of that. Anyway, that's why I haven't heard of the school. They were the only school picked lower than Robert Morris in the conference poll.
So here's the question, though: Is Caleb Lewis getting the start for them? I've been trying to poke around to find Robert Morris's game notes, and they've just not come up.
Oh, there were game notes just like within they were calling them game notes. It was just within the website's little news blurb about we're taking on Buffalo.
Yeah.
I don't.
It says George Martin. It says George Martin's making his first career start. Okay. So it's the guy from LSU was a walk on at LSU, so I don't know what that means. But
I mean, he's a walk-on who made the team, made the roster, and played at LSU, like game day play. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you wanted a wild card to worry about, to me, that and a quality tight end would have been something to worry about, because I have questions about the middle of our defense covering the pass.
Yeah, that's what my question is. I contemplate brew peg picks, but at the end of the day, like, it's just not a borderline FBS team with that type of athleticism and talent. I can't see any way that they win a matchup, across the board, other than maybe that tight end.
Yeah, I think that tight end he'll be a good test for the linebacking core. I don't think he'll be too much of a problem, especially with a new quarterback. But it seems like he's a good player.
If God forbid we need to drop a safety down a bit to kind of double them, like, fine. I say God forbid like it matters, but
Matt, you brought Duquesne up, but I remember very similar conversations around the Duquesne game.
Yeah, but Duquesne coming out of that was, they had finished top 3 in the conference 3 years in a row. Like, they were a team that, who upset Pitt like the week before we played Pitt? It wasn't Duquesne, because that would have been a big deal being in state, and it wasn't like Bowling Green, because Bowling Green, but remember Pitt a week before we played them one year got upset.
I do, and then we played them really, really tough.
Yeah,
was that the year we played at Pitt?
It was the year we played at Pitt, but at any rate, like, Duquesne has had some of that. It was they weren't the ones who upset Pitt, but they have had. They're not quite James Madison, but they're in that tier of, like, Duquesne football upsets is what I'm going to search. Let me put it this way: Sagarin ratings. How much should I trust them? I don't know. But if we go to Sagarin's football ratings, Buffalo's at 92, with James Madison's at 90, South Dakota State's at 68, and North Dakota State's at 35. So only 3 FCS teams above Buffalo, which is great. Right behind us is Illinois State, Northern Iowa, whatever. Duquesne this year, predicted at the top of the Northeast Conference, is at 186, and Robert Morris is at 239 out of 256.
I was looking at Massey ratings, which is like another similar thing, and I think they're like almost like they're below a good amount of D2 teams. I was just about to try and pull that up.
Sagarin doesn't have D2, but like Robert Morris is behind like Southwest Conference teams, and I don't want to denigrate HBCUs, but they do not have the money to run functional athletic departments right now, and this team is rated behind a number of HBCUs.
All right, so here, we'll put a pin on. We'll put a cherry.
Yeah, we're getting long-winded here.
Yeah, we'll just put one last period at the end of this sentence before we move on. If you want an idea of where Robert Morris has struggled on defense, here's the amount of points they gave up last year. 49 points to Dayton, 19 to Virginia State. That is, I believe, that's an FCS team. 73 points to James Madison, 49 points to Bryant, 56 points to Central Connecticut, 48 points to Duquesne, who we were just talking about, 45 to Central State, which is a Division II team that they beat 49 to 45, 20 points to St. Francis of Pennsylvania. And I'm sorry, the 19 points against Virginia State, that is a D2 team. 38 against Sacred Heart, 40 against Eastern Kentucky, and 41 against Wagner. So if their defense is about where it was last year, all of a sudden my brew peg pick looks very conservative.
Yeah. And I will say, like, the Northeastern Conference isn't great for FCS, but being the Northeast Conference, a lot of those schools are schools that I've seen come in to play BC on homecoming over the years, and they don't get, like, Bryant doesn't quite get embarrassed. Granted, BC hasn't been great for a P5 school, but
James Madison, they're not offensive juggernauts.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's very good to go into BC and get beat 21-3 and say, "Oh, that wasn't that bad."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But like Bryant, certainly Duquesne, James Madison, Bryant, Wagner, like those are decent programs. So and yet 40 points against anyone is just you're not gonna. That's beyond a moral victory. Yeah. We got a comment on the site that I think Zach's the best answer for. Who do we think is the current third quarterback?
Our third quarterback. I would not be surprised if it's still Dom, because I was watching the press conference and Leipold said that he's still like working with the quarterbacks, but he's also getting work with the wide receivers. I don't know about I don't know how you say this kid's last name, but I know we have a pretty highly regarded freshman is Chinsky or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but
that has few vowels even for a Polish name.
Yeah, so maybe
there's one at the beginning and one at the end. It must be Bichinsky.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
it's got to be in game notes anyway.
Maybe him, but I think probably still Dom.
I gotta say,
I would imagine unless I mean, with the red shirt rule the way it is, and I had always kind of remember a universe where if you play it all, that's it. But I guess you get so many games now.
I like the 4-game rule.
I do too. I'm not complaining. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining.
No. I know. I just want to say out loud how much I like it. And I'd love it. Kind of exists in the same way in basketball, but basketball's different. But I would be really excited to think about halfway through the season. Hey, like you could play this guy for 4 games to win the division and get into the conference championship, and use him to have a meaningful impact on your year, and then still not burn his year.
So here's the quarterbacks we have. We have Byzinski, who's a freshman. Van Treese, Dominic Johnson is still listed as a quarterback. Myers, Aaron Chase. Those are your 4. I think if it's one of those 4 and it's not Dom, it's probably going to be Byzinski. But we'll find out. If we're scoring 70 points, I'm sure we'll get a look at the third quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, just based on like literally frame and body type, if Dom gets in, I want full scale Zach Maynard. Just go nuts. just
Are you saying bring back the wild bull?
I'm saying sometimes football is fun when you're doing the effective equivalent of pulling the pin on a hand grenade and saying hot potato. The game notes say that it's Byzinski. That's oddly simple but
I just pronounced it right without looking at the game notes, and you know me.
Yeah.
I grew up in Buffalo. I could read out a Polish name when I have to.
Oh, I know. Well, when I was a reader at church just like a kid, and I don't have a Polish last name, and I'd have to get the phonetic spelling and like practice them, whatever family had a loss in that week and we were saying the mass for, I had to be like in memory of, and it was horrible.
It's the one thing you have to give real sports announcers grace for is some of the names they got to say. Like Jeremiah Reardon, Best last name ever, but when UB's long snapper does something awesome, I know somewhere there's an announcer sweating, hoping that that's not the guy that makes the play. It's Ryodin.
Here's another comment from the post that I think might send you into a rant, Tim. But RMA asks any idea what we're paying them, and I know that the FOIA office has started to be finicky with you.
Okay, kids, gather around. It's time for one of Daddy's rants.
Sorry, Zach.
Long ago, in a time far, far and away, I had a pretty decent relationship with the FOIA people at UB. They were very open. They were very clear on stuff like this. And I don't want to just – I'm going to temper this a little bit by saying I've heard this from other bloggers and other writers for college sports. Athletic departments have become very tight-lipped about things like this. The last time I asked for a contract amount, I was told it was considered to be a trade secret, and my FOIA request was denied. I was told I could reply in writing via a stamped envelope to an address at the SUNY office if I cared to challenge that ruling. I fully intended to do that for you guys, but I got 4 kids and a powerful need to keep my house running, so I did not get to it. I will probably, now that who did we just announce? Was it
Holy Cross?
Yeah, Holy Cross. Thank you. I'm going to try my feet at this again, and this time, if I do get denied, I will in fact push for that. And someone else hit me up offline who's familiar with college athletics and suggest I just foil the entire dang department's budget. And if they're going to make me go that route, I've never been a fan of pulling their budget apart and ripping things apart because it's not a fun job for me.
It's a spectrum type thing too.
And they don't have a fun job. Making a department run isn't fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to put them under a spotlight because why would I want to make their lives hard? But if they're going to make me go that route, then I'm sure I'll find some other things that are fun to publish.
Yeah, I gotta say, if they're claiming trade secret, I can't imagine an appeal working because there is a legitimate benefit to the world not knowing, all the FCS schools not quite knowing how much.
I have an enormous problem. I have an enormous problem with a state school.
I'm not saying I agree with it.
Saying trade secret.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying if one person wants to decide that's defensible, I would bet that someone in the state office would as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with it.
This to me is actually worse than the magical mystery ESPN deal.
Based on who is making the deal and who's withholding the information, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because this was one that's completely under UB's 100% control. Yeah. They decided to spend that money.
Yeah.
So to me, this is worse than and if you don't know what the magical mystery ESPN deal is, just go try to find the deal that the ESPN and the Mid-American Conference have signed, which is located at no conference or school office anywhere.
Yep.
That way they could deny you because you asked. Go on, Matt.
I have solved my gripes with the magical mystery ESPN deal by just pretending that the conference doesn't exist anymore. And I gotta say, it works really good. I hate the conference as an entity. I don't love the rivalries we have with the other schools because I hate them too. But I like having all our games are within a tight geographical area. They're with other fans that we share a certain kind of vibe with. But the MAC conference is full of a bunch of shills, and it's all artificially fake, hype men, people who. There are a lot of people paid money to write who can't write, and it bothers me. And the MAC office has many of those people, and it's just full of nonsense. And I think the commissioner does a good job stewarding the interests of the MAC. And apparently, one of the ways that he does that is backroom deals. He makes sure to engineer so that. No one can learn anything about them. But I've just stopped. I've blocked the MAC on Twitter, just like I've blocked, the Yankees on Twitter. My life is better for it. I have to be reminded that there's a conference website where I could get information because I have stopped considering that.
That was supposed to be my rant. You stole my thunder there.
I know. I'm sorry.
Is it my turn to rant now?
Yes.
If you got something, go for it.
I don't have anything, but I wish.
We are ahead of schedule today. Let's have fun. This will be a much longer show when we're talking about Pitt, not Robert Morris. All right. Buffalo storylines, we've already called out a couple. None being hurt, not thrilled to hear that. We're already really depleted at receiver. Or I shouldn't say that. We already have a lot. We don't have a ton of experience returning at receiver. We might have the best receiving core we've ever had for all I know. We won't know, unfortunately, now until we get into the middle of the season.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? Is it 3 JUCO guys who are?
Yeah, all the freshmen.
We have a true freshman starting.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if he can do it, he can do it. The depth chart is up on Bull Run.
I mean, what is there? Like 3 true freshman quarterbacks starting in the SEC this year? Like, if
it's a weird year.
Yeah.
And the MAC as a whole has been pretty banged up by graduation. I don't want to say banged up is a bad thing. Depleted by graduation. Ohio. That's why everyone is singing Ohio's praises as they're going to walk into Detroit. I've seen enough Ohio football to know what November looks like.
Ohio's no different than they always are. It's just the rest of the MAC that's different.
Exactly. But I mean, I can count. I mean, I need 2 hands to count the number of times in the past 10 years Ohio has went into October as the team that's going to win the East, and I need 2 fingers to count the number of times they've actually won the East. So we'll see. We'll see if Solich manages to keep them together this year. All right, that's not a Buffalo storyline though.
No.
One thing I wanted to get into was we have a freshman quarterback and a freshman center. So both the guy running our offense and the guy running the offensive line are freshmen. They're redshirt freshmen, which means they were here last year. It also means they practice together a lot, and I'm very grateful to hear that. But that's a lot of place for inexperience to go wrong in week 1.
One thing, sorry to cut you off.
No, please cut me off.
I was watching, so I keep going back to the press conference, but something weird during the press conference was Leipold was asked about Nowitzki being the starting center, and he looked surprised, and he started shuffling his papers. He's like, "I need to see what you guys are looking at." And then he said something to John Fuller about "Don't worry, it's not a big deal." So I'm wondering if it's more of an or situation at starting center than he is the starting center, because he seemed surprised by the question of whether or not he was the starting center. So I don't know what to read into it, but it seemed like a weird moment. If you after this go watch and you'll see what I'm talking about, but it's pretty weird. I had to rewind it. So I don't know what that means, but it made me feel like maybe he's not the starting center.
I'm going to keep this short because these folks have a habit of sending us nasty grams. I have also blocked on Twitter the sports information staff at the University of Buffalo.
So if you're wondering why we're a little bit behind stories sometimes, no, we some of our editors are blocking the people who publish stories.
Well, that definitely changes the tenor of a bunch of things that we've written and said in the last 2 days. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
I should have called that out in the article. Those are Leipold's depth charts. I hardly ever take his depth charts seriously unless there's an injury. Right? If there's an injury, that's okay, who's he going to stick in there?
Yeah.
He pretty much stamps out and prints them out. And hey, that's his prerogative.
And I'm fine with that. I don't do it. Yeah.
I'm just some guy blogging, and he has no obligation to give me a proper roster at all.
Yeah.
I am a bit disappointed because part of me was thinking, hey, at least that means that the freshman center and the freshman quarterback are probably working together last year, that there's probably already chemistry there. That could actually be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm disappointed just because we've got experience at all the other spots in the line. Why not use this year to start building future experience?
You got a lot of juniors and seniors, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of juniors and seniors that could mitigate the turnover both next season and the season after that. If you've got one, if you can get one spot, like kind of sucks to be the junior center, but like
O'Hagan held that line together. He was the anchor on that line for 4 years.
Well, I mean, as John would tell us, every chance he'd get, like O'Hagan was, built to play center. Like he was the anointed one. I could go either way on saying like put your best 5 guys each year, or try and work experience through as you could. But I was kind of excited about the fact like, all right, we got juniors and seniors. Some of them, but not all, will graduate this year. And if we bring in one freshman now, well, that's one person who's just a little more into it than he would be if he had to step in next year. But if that's not what's happening, then we're just belaboring the point.
Yeah, I think Leipold, if anything, was caught by surprise that the or wasn't there in the depth chart. The man has more.
He loves his ors. Yeah, conjunction junction.
To be honest, we have like a pretty straightforward depth chart. I feel like I think we only have 2 ors on it. I saw Washington State. I think they had an or at every position except for running back or something like that. And like I've been seeing some of the depth charts on my like Twitter timeline, and like I feel like we got a pretty straightforward answer on a lot of things from ours so far. I mean, it's a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything anyways, but relatively speaking. Back to the O-line that we were talking about, a lot of down in depth. I was reading on Pro Football Focus, and I don't know if it was like really worth writing anything like a full article about, but they had like all Americans. Paul Nosworthy got honorable mention, and they listed 1 at every position, so de facto 3rd team All-American, and at every position except for center, we either had a 1st or 2nd team preseason All-MAC offensive linemen. So the offensive line is like not just experienced, it's like pretty ridiculously stacked. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, between that and the one thing I was thinking, we were talking about it earlier. I didn't have this ready going to the show. We talked about how Buffalo was a run-heavy team last year and how that worked out. The one thing I was curious about was, do you think that a lot of our success running had to do with the fact that Tyree could stretch the field so much with his arm? And is that going to be a real challenge this year for Patterson and Marks to not be running in an offense where teams have to worry that we have a quarterback who can throw it running sideways 45 yards down the field on a line?
I mean, it certainly probably plays a role. I mean, the question is how much. I have enough faith in our line, and I think both of our backs are pretty talented. So I can't imagine it makes a huge difference unless they're stacking like 8 in the box. But based on the fact that Van Treese was serviceable 2 years ago, and then Myers beat him out now, it makes me feel like he'll at least be respectable enough that they're not going to be putting 8 people in the box or whatever.
Yeah, my answer towards that is they're going to have to learn how to churn out some yards even when teams are keying up on them at some point if they want to be kind of carry the team in the future. And if this is the year with the retro freshman quarterback, then not a bad year to learn that. And if it's a year with an experienced O-line, we can win with the Bo Oliver sophomore year, 3 yards, 4 yards, 9 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards, 2 yards, 4 yards. We can win that way. We can take heat off the quarterback. We can take heat off the defense that is going to need potential. And I enjoy it. You choke the life out of people. We should not say that out of context.
Well, think of like what it was like being on the wrong side of that BC game. Last year, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Wrong side of the BC game. But that's what they did to us. They just ran it for 4 or 5 yards of play.
Yeah. Also, every year against Army. Those games are the worst.
I don't remember those.
I think the O-line is good enough that even if there's 7 in the box, they can get 4 yards. And if they learn from that, so that in 2 years when they're seniors and Myers is a junior, and hopefully we got a dynamic offense, that's just going to service the offense that much more in next year and the year after when they're upperclassmen. I just think if our O-line if we weren't so confident in the O-line, I'd be more concerned by that question. and none can get deep. His 2 touchdowns are more than 50 yards. So when he's back, we got a quarterback who's got to get him the ball, but like we do have a guy who can get down the field.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're not back to the time when we just don't have that speedster that can make a defense sweat a little bit. Hopefully, none can be that guy. We'll see. I mean, you're right. He can move, but okay. I was going to do around the NCAA, but we're kind of starting to stretch on time. And the only thing I was going to mention was that KJ Osborne had himself a nice little game with Miami. I haven't really followed the first week so much, other than, again, seeing some ridiculous predictions for Ohio being already anointed the champions of the East and probably breaking their MAC curse, which is, 54 years old now or something like that. So let's move on to predictions. Zach, take it away.
So I've been reading through the BrewPeg picks, and I feel like everybody's been pretty conservative, so my pick's going to seem a little crazy, but I'm going to go with 55-0. I don't think Robert Morris. I don't know. They're so bad. Like, really, is the only way I can put it. I think I'm higher on our defense than probably you guys, which is I think the difference between like some of the 5-7 and 6-6 picks versus me at 7-5. So I don't really see them with a new quarterback pushing the ball down the field far enough to score a touchdown. And their kicker, I was looking, only attempted 8 field goals last year and only made 4 of them. So if they're going to score, I feel like they have to put it in the end zone. And I just don't know if I see that happening against our offense or our defense. And then if you take that 48-point line, I think we can. I mean, that kind of accounts for us scoring 50-ish points. So I had us at 56, and then take away the missed extra point we're going to have. So that's how I ended up at 55-0. So I feel it's definitely bolder than a lot of the picks, but I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be pretty rough.
Up till now, the most points anyone has predicted for UB was 54. So you've now passed that. And the minimum that people had for Robert Morris, one person had them scoreless. So, yep, that is the boldest of the bold right now.
So we'll see. I'll either look like a fool or I'll look like a genius, but got to be bold on week 1.
So, Matt, what do you got?
Well, I'm glad you went to Zach first because I learned some more information about the kicker. I was going to hedge my bet on the Robert Morris score, and I was leaning this way anyway, but you've definitely made me feel better about it. I'm going 44-0. Like I said, I don't think there's a matchup across the board that the Robert Morris offense can win, other than that tight end maybe. And I think the other matchups are going to be such lopsided that if we have to devote multiple people to them, so be it. I was thinking of maybe going 44-3 and hedge my bet, not so much for a field goal, but if they somehow got a fluke up to 6 or so somehow. But I'm not going to do that now. As for how UB gets to 44, I don't know. It's, you can't pick with UB special teams a number, like a touchdown number. You can't pick 45 because that would be, a bunch of touchdowns and 1 field goal. Like you gotta, I don't know how they get to 44, but like you just gotta expect a missed kick at this point. Like you really safety. Do have to, or a safety. Yeah. I think the real bonus point is like, the game that UB doesn't miss a kick, everyone gets an extra BrewPeg point, just like out of a sympathy, because like you all like,
You've been through a lot.
No. If you pick a score that would not normally have happened with a missed extra point, you get an extra point. So if you pick 14, you get an extra point. But if you pick 13,
we just had a conversation about how hard it is to do the work for BrewPeg. We don't need to introduce that. At any rate. 44-0. I bet we score on something like 3 out of our first 4 drives, and then keep moving the ball. But I don't think they score. That's the big thing. I don't think they score.
All right. So I unlike Matt, I am a coward. I have 38-3, although I reserve the right to change it as I do some more research. And the reason I have 3 is coverage. If they score 0, I get a point. If they get a touchdown and miss an extra point, I get a point. If they manage a field goal, I get 3 points. So I'm in it to win it this year, boys.
Good luck.
Or at least not finish near the bottom. God help me. 38 I have because I think Leipold empties the bench. I think we go into halftime up 28 or more, and I think he's just got the second and third stringers in most of the second half, and maybe we put another 10 points up. I could be wrong. This could be a 65-0 blowout, and I've not seen a Leipold run team actually finish a game like that.
Yeah, that is true.
So that's where I'm falling.
That's what kept me from going over 50. It's just like.
Oh, sorry. I was just pulling this up out of curiosity. I went to look at what we did last year against Delaware State when we won 48-10. And it's a little bit hard to tell with the running backs of those rotating receivers, but at quarterback, Van Treese only threw 2 passes. So I don't recall specifically, but I don't think there was much of a whole team, wholesale second team in the second half or something like that. I don't know what that means for this year, but I don't know if we're gonna see the second half of being the second team or something like that, maybe a drive at the end, but I don't know that I would worry too much about that.
Probably right. I mean, I remember being a bit upset about that with Leipold. You were up huge, and this is the time to get guys in there and get them some game experience with screaming fans and an actual game clock that means something. But we'll see. All right, we're going to try something new here. I didn't tell the other guys I'm going to do this every week. Three things that Tim learned this week. We'll see if they managed to educate me. Should have been writing these down as we went. Number 1, I learned Robert Morris is more historically bad than I thought, because I had no idea they gave up so many points last year. I probably should have known that. I learned that Matt's hatred of the Mac goes beyond any of the other editors. And to be fair, that's because Matt, given his history at Bull Run, has probably worked with a much wider swath of the Mac conference than we have. He was our Olympic czar back in the day. So
Guru.
When he had to look up something on cross country or volleyball, speaking of which, cross country is on Friday at Bowling Green. They open their season.
Yeah.
I will be in Seattle, so we'll be able to follow that.
Volleyball's opening Friday as well.
They destroyed Binghamton. Third thing I learned.
No, never mind. Go ahead.
Dang it! I don't got a third thing this. We didn't do a good job. I can't think of.
I have one for you.
Let's hear it.
Depending if you saw it in the one article that I wrote, here's a fun fact. Robert Morris has one of their football alumni. Well, I guess he's not an alumni. He didn't graduate. Well, it's gone. Well, I'll say it for anybody that didn't read it. They have a former football player top the U.S. music charts more recently than they've had an NFL player, because the rapper Wale went to Robert Morris and played football there, and their last NFL player was 2004, I think. So I guess I don't have a third one for you, but I stumbled across that, which I thought was pretty weird.
No, that's a good one. So it might be a really rough game for Robert Morris, but their walking out music can be awesome.
True. Maybe they'll get a motivational speech in the locker room or something.
No, they need to play when they walk out.
That's fair.
It's like when boxers walk out of the ring.
That's true.
Lance Leipold walks out and it's like, why can't we be friends? All right, we're gonna jump on the post game, but before we do, just a reminder that we are probably going to invite the Brew Peg winner onto Bowls and Beers next week for the end prediction segment. If you are so interested, if one of us wins, then it'll just be that person laughing at everybody else for a couple of minutes. Have a good night. Have a good week. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Talk to you guys later.